In the pastoral epistles, there are explicit instructions as to how to select church leaders. And so a church planter is a church leader. A church planter is an elder, somebody who's qualified to be an elder in a local church, who has got the skill set, the competence to start a new work somewhere else. A healthy church, I think, will have elders in plurality, and some of those elders will be being trained for being sent out to plant new churches. I think that would describe a healthy eldership in general. And that might be a challenge for some people who've got elderships but who are not training elders to go and plant new churches. So a church planter is at least an elder, not less than an elder, never less than an elder, at least an elder with perhaps some competencies on top of that. And so a church planter needs to know about himself that he meets the criteria for eldership in the New Testament. And so he needs to go through the list in Titus, he needs to go through the list in 1 Timothy 3, he needs to look at the end of 1 Peter 5, and he needs to look at those characteristics, and he needs to make sure that he's hitting those characteristics. He also needs to look at Acts chapter 20 and look at what Paul says to the Ephesian elders, and he needs to work those things out in his life. And he needs to have somebody to talk into his life and to tell him if that is or not the case. Now, this can be very daunting, and people can think we're expecting a standard of perfection almost in a church planter or in an elder. And that's not the case. We're expecting a high standard. We're expecting people to be serious about their faith and serious about their life and doctrine, as we'll see in the scriptures. But essentially, when you boil it down, what the church planter needs to know about himself and what will be reflected in the lists that we've got in Titus and Timothy and Peter will be a real grasp of the gospel and a real outworking of the gospel in every area of his life. For example, one of the things that the lists reveal quite consistently is this idea of hospitality. So an elder should be hospitable, and a church planter therefore should be hospitable. And in fact, hospitality is a wonderful way of planting a church, being hospitable, opening your home. What is the link between hospitality and the gospel? Well, the link is that just as God in his grace welcomed us who were strangers to his table, so we who have understood the gospel and who love the gospel welcome others who are strangers to our table. And so hospitality is in fact an outworking of the gospel in my life, a way in which I show that I've understood, that I love, and that I want to live out the gospel. And so the church planter needs to be looking at that in every area of his life. It is in my marriage, am I living out the gospel? With my children, am I living out the gospel? In my dealings with money, am I living out the gospel? In how I manage my time, am I living out the gospel? And so the question that we're asking, and the question that those lists reveal is, does the church planter know himself in light of the gospel? And is he working on his strengths and weaknesses in the light of the gospel so that the strengths are maximized and the weaknesses are minimized for the glory of God in the gospel? And that's what a church planter needs to know at least about himself.